let's say that you're in the building. Let's say the music hits. Dricus Du Plessi makes that walk. Handsome guy, got the nice smile, right? I mean, Dricus really, he's the way you want to look. He's the kind of guy that you cheer for. Are you going to cheer for him? That's my question. Because next up, the champions. Music's going to hit the speakers. The guy that nobody believed in. The guy that changed weight classes and nobody knew because they never knew he was at 170 in the first place. The guy that made his way to a main event. The guy that they were stopping from going anywhere and the world was trying to figure out a way to cancel him. It just happened that he had a boss that had balls of stone. There was a 6-1 dog, flew to a different continent, dressed up like Crocodile Dundee, and handled his business for 25 minutes. Easily the breakthrough star of 2023, easily. But right behind him for breakout star is DDP. And I'm just wondering, in this particular situation, who do you believe is further along? Dricus is hard for me to buy as a heel. I find him charming. I think he's a handsome guy. I think what he says is interesting. I think he's very well trained. He said earlier today, and the genesis of my entire question to you of who are you going to cheer for, which adversely means who are you going to boo? My entire question, Dricus did an interview earlier today. He said, I'm glad Sean Strickland cried. I'm glad I heard him. Those words were designed to hurt him. I'm glad it did. And that's the umpteenth time that he's doubled down on those statements, and anybody else would have ran him back. And see, that's the problem with a heel. There's nothing more monetizable at a box office than a cool heel. They just don't come along very often because the guys can't take the booze. A cool heel, I'll give you two examples. The Rock, Austin. Give you three examples. CM Punk. Give you four examples. Chris Jericho when he wants to be. I mean, the top names. Give you five examples. Ric Flair. But I mean, this is of all time, guys. It's a very rare thing. And I'm not convinced I buy Dricus. He says something terrible. He says a mean, unkind thing, but he's got this smile when he does it. I'm not sure I buy it. And it's interesting. I find Dricus to be very good at marketing. I find what he does to be very interesting. Now, he has poked a bear in ways that has not been poked. But when you attempt to do something different, you're quite often going to get something different. The approach that somebody has to a contest, it's something that handicappers everywhere will try to pick up on. You know, when guy's playing poker and he's got a tell? He's got a tell, he doesn't know what it was, he's got a scratch, he's got whatever his tell is, but he's got one. And athletes are very similar. Very similar. Somebody used to play baseball back in the day, and sometimes he'd show up to the arena with this thing on his wrist, and sometimes he won it. Then when it was time to play, he would always put it on, and it was legal, and it was loud, it was fine. The whole world could see it, but there was something about when he would show up to the arena with it. There was something about when it was in his mind, before he ever left his house to come, and they'd sort him out, and they'd go against him, and they'd go with him, and made a whole bunch of money. It was just one of these interesting things. It was one of these interesting tells, and Strickland is in a place that he's never been before, but I'm not convinced that Du Plessis isn't also. I don't know how comfortable Du Plessis is with this role. And I'm not in a position, because I don't have enough information, enough evidence yet, to form an opinion on either of them. Whether Strickland's going to do great pissed off or whether Du Plessis is working a little too hard to not run back some of his statements. I don't know. But Dricus did not do less than Izzy. If you wanted to get real technical, sure, but they were very close. Dricus did not do less than Izzy. Dricus came out as a babyface. And the world was saying that Izzy gone too far. And the same thing is happening here. Sean Strickland retaliated for something that was very cruel. And he asked some children to move, and he jumped, and he's thrown out of the arena, and he's this awful guy. And Daniel Cormier told the world that Sean Strickland's a psychopath. And meanwhile, Dricus Du Plessi kept the seats, and he's got a big smile on his face and is not sorry for what he did. Like, I'm not telling you who's wrong here. I'm not telling you who's right here. I'm asking you, who do you want to see win based on the story and the turmoil and the heat and the feud that is preceding this contest? And I would like to know if you were in the arena right now. You have 2023's two fastest rising stars. There wasn't anybody, I'll throw myself in there, aside from me, that thought Sean Strickland could be champion in 2023. There wasn't anybody. There was less people that thought DDP could be the number one contender. Do you disagree with that? Okay, great. No, you don't. You don't. There was nobody that was less of a contender. Who was an undercard in December of last year, had one fight this year in his main event in 2024. Come on, man. You're not going to find a story like that. No way are you going to find a story like that. Being looked at, one win away from going into 300 against Adesanya on the top of the bill. You will not find a meteoric rise like that. But he's got a bear in front of him with a 12-pound gold belt, says he's the best in the world, and he's pissed him off. And I want to know, if they were walking to the ring right now, who are you cheering for?